Hi, my name is RJ Hawkins, and I'm a special education instructional facilitator for LCISD. Today, we're going to be talking about close reading. So I'm sure you've had this scenario play out in your classrooms before, where you've introduced a new text to your students, you've read the first few chapters, and they all seem very interested. They're able to recall a lot of the key plot points and character names, but when you get to some of those deeper meaning questions, the room goes silent and they start to struggle. So this is where close reading comes into play. So what is close reading? Close reading is thoughtful, critical analysis of a text that focuses on significant details or patterns in order to develop a deep, precise understanding of the text's form, craft, and meanings. Close reading enables readers to tackle complex texts and come to important conclusions, interpretations, and inferences. Some components of close reading are limited pre-reading, rereading with purpose, reading with a pen, pencil, or highlighter, noting details that are thought-provoking or confusing, discussion, and text-dependent questions. So at what age should students begin learning close reading? While it's a very important skill for high school and college level students to use, it's also important for elementary students to start practicing using this skill. Students with strong close reading skills are likely to grow to be strong readers and have a well-developed skill set for attacking standardized reading test questions. So when is close reading appropriate? So obviously, close reading is not going to be something that you use when you're reading something like a how-to manual or an instruction guide. Many texts have a clear, concise meaning where close reading is not necessary to access any deeper ideas or meaning. Close reading is only necessary when you're reading a text that's complex and has meaning that goes beyond the text. All right, so now we're going to talk about how to introduce close reading to your classroom. When practicing close reading in the classroom, it's important to focus on these main aspects. The first is having short and complex text. This is essential when you're introducing the skill because you're not going to want to overwhelm your students with a complete text when you're working on close reading. Next, you want to have limited background knowledge. Sometimes when you're reading a text with your students that they already know a lot about the subject matter, they're going to rely more on their background knowledge than using the information from the text. Next, you want to have text-dependent questions. Kind of piggybacking off of the limited background knowledge, it's important to have a text that requires the students to use the information from the text to answer your questions. Next, annotation. You can't have close reading without annotation. It's important for students to be not only paying attention to the reading, but also writing down important thoughts or questions they might have about the text as they go along. And next we have discussion. It's important for the students to talk about what they're reading. Sometimes you can hear ideas from other students that you may not have considered during your own reading. And next we have demonstrate. As with any skill that you're going to introduce in a classroom, it's important that the teacher demonstrates how to properly utilize the skill. And last we have differentiate. As with any other important skill or lesson that you're going to have in your classroom, you're going to need to have it on multiple levels for your students. You're not going to have all your students reading the same level of text, so you need to offer them text that they can still practice the close reading skill with at their reading level. And last, I'm going to provide you with some examples of close reading questions to get you a little more familiar with what they might look like with your students. So the first question, what does the author mean when he writes that Tom had never seen a kitchen nor climbed a backyard fence? The second question, what kind of story is this? Fantasy or realistic fiction? Next, on page 1, the story says that Tom was a hero. What does that mean? What made him a hero? And question 4, on page 4, it again calls Tom a hero. How is the meaning of hero different here than on page 1? So now that we've gone over some of the key skills and points of close reading, I hope that you're ready to implement this skill in your classroom with your students. Happy reading.